Hey you guys, today I want to talk about the difference in endurance and growth. So, endurance is defined as the power of enduring or living through an unpleasant or difficult process or situation without giving way or giving up. Endurance is a good thing. Keeping your feet moving, not giving up even though things are hard. Growth is defined as the process of developing or maturing physically, mentally, or spiritually, most often the result of intentional actions taken over time. I see a lot of folks out there in the midst of all this pandemic stuff enduring. I see folks giving up too, giving into their anger, giving into their self-pity, wanting to pretend it's not happening, sliding off into delusion. But I see a lot of folks enduring. Like I said, endurance is good. Problem with endurance is when I get to the other side of the difficult situation, all I've really learned is that I can endure. I mean, that's a good thing to know about yourself. But getting through the difficult situation just makes the difficult situation pointless. Just more crap I got to go through in a long, difficult life. Rather than just enduring, I can also choose to grow. I can choose to use whatever tools I've got to try and show up and meet these challenges without blinking, without putting my head in the sand, without turning to anger or self-pity, without giving up. How do I show up for this? How do I let it make me stronger instead of wearing me down? You know, I don't think it's a good idea to treat this pandemic like I'm trying to swim from this side of the swimming pool to the other side of the pool underwater holding my breath. Because I don't know how far the other side of the swimming pool is from here. And I got a sneaking suspicion it isn't a few weeks away. I got a suspicion it may be months or even years before we ever return to anything that approximates normal, and it may not even look like the old normal at all. So it'd be a better idea if I was trying to grow a little bit through this and trying to figure out how to show up and be the kind of person I can feel good about when my head hits the pillow at night, instead of being an asshole all day or feeling sorry for myself until I end up hiding in a bottle or hiding down a hole or killing myself or whatever other form of giving up you got in you. Growth is challenging. It requires endurance, but it's not solely based on endurance. If I can use the tools I've been given and lean into the people around me who seem to be having a better time than me on any given day, ask them how they're doing that. Find a way to keep my eyes open and to recognize my fear when it comes up. I didn't like the word fear when I got sober. People were talking about fear all the time. I'm not afraid. Look at me. I'm not afraid of nothing. And somebody pointed out that anger is just fear pointed at the world. You know, anger is a response to feeling threatened. It's the fight part of fight or flight. Self-pity is the other side of the same coin. Some of us are more comfortable with anger and the false sense of power it gives us. Some of us are more comfortable with self-pity and the sense of righteous victimhood we're allowed to wear. But we almost all do them both at the same time when we're feeling threatened. But if I start letting my fear turn into anger and self-pity, and I start letting that anger and self-pity make decisions for me, life doesn't get better. I don't feel stronger, I feel weaker. I feel less able to take effective action. I feel more and more uncomfortable in my own skin, less effective in my own life. And that tends to feed on itself. And it grinds me down spiritually, and it makes me start being more and more selfish and self-centered and letting fear direct my behavior more and more. I start being dishonest with myself and others. It starts being hard to live with me. So instead of just holding my breath and trying to get through it all, I can use some tools to look at things head on. Things that scare me. Don't blink. Look right at them. Examine the fear. Use it to try and get some clarity on how I should show up for this thing. What would it look like to handle whatever situation's happening right now in my life if I weren't afraid? What would that look like? Oftentimes I have to look at my fear and why I'm feeling threatened in order to even get to that vision of what it would look like to show up to be the kind of person I can feel good about. But if I can do that incrementally on whatever's coming up every day, I take an action. And for me, it involves connecting to this source, this power. Some people, you might call it God or higher power. I don't call it anything much. I know it's there. I don't know what it is. I've stopped trying to decide what it is. I just know it's there, and when I tap into it, I'm able to show up and do things in a way I can feel good about even when I'm scared. And it's not always big giant stuff. I'm going to be homeless, I'm going to die in a gutter, I'm going to whatever, my wife's going to leave me, whatever that is. Oftentimes it's just little things. Like, is there ever going to be toilet paper at the store again? I can do some research. I can talk to people. I can examine the fears. I can get a vision of what it would look like to show up and do that thing the right way. Especially if I just did it the wrong way and I feel bad about who I am and now I got to go to apologize to somebody because I was a bit of a dick. But if I do those things every day, a little bit every day, that makes tomorrow a little bit better. It allows me to build tomorrow on the shoulders of what I'm doing today. And gradually that begins to diminish my fear because it allows me to feel like I can take effective action. I can show up for this. Even if it's scary, even if I don't know what the solution is. You know, I love my job. I've had my job for 4 years. I like my job better than I like being in a rock band and on MTV in the late 80s and early 90s. I love what I do for a living. It's over. It's gone. Did not see that coming. It's a little scary for a guy like me. You know, I'm not sure how that job came into my life. I'm not sure what's coming next. But I'm sure something's coming next. And I know that if I can stay present and I can show up for life, whatever life is handing me today in the best way I can, that when that next opportunity presents itself, I won't be out of my mind. I won't have been an asshole to the dude who's got the opportunity in his back pocket. I will have been feeling pretty good about who I am and how I've been showing up, and I'll be able to spot the opportunity just like I spotted this one when it came up. Even this job was scary when it was offered, but I did some work and I figured out how to show up for it, and it turned out to be awesome. I think the next thing's going to come up that way too. So I encourage you, use whatever tools you've got. Lean into your religious community. Lean into whatever community you've got, even if it's through these stupid screens, because that's kind of all we got right now. You know, Zoom meetings and the telephone, a little bit of social media. Lean into whatever tools you can find. If you can't find any tools, find me. I'm not hard to find. Let's talk. Let's walk through this together so that we can be stronger on the other side, so that we can grow. Because one of the awesome things about it is, when this challenge is over, the growth that I've experienced by showing up for it, the spiritual strength the spiritual strength that I've built by moving through it, won't go away just because the challenge is over. And it'll be like that scene in Fight Club where Ed Norton goes back to work that first morning after getting his ass kicked the night before. Like, all that stuff that seemed to be so loud in my ear before just becomes background noise. It's not all that scary anymore. That's a future I look forward to. I look forward to seeing you there too. Anyway, endurance and growth. Can't have one without the other, but only endurance doesn't really get me much of anywhere. You guys hang in there, keep yourself safe. I look forward to seeing you out there when we're allowed to do that again. Take it easy.